Hey, how's it going, everyone? Cairo here with TCS Rockets, and today I have our top 8 Ikoria draft cards. So we're going to go over commons and uncommons that I think are very powerful in this limited set. We're going to ignore the rares for this video only because you only see one a pack, so you can't necessarily guarantee that you will get to play with that card. But the commons and uncommons, you see plenty of those. But with that being said, let's get right into it. First off, I have Serrated Scorpion. Serrated Scorpion is a 1 mana 1/2 that reads: when Serrated Scorpion dies, it deals 2 damage to each opponent and you gain 2 life. I have this card low on the list, but on the list nonetheless because I feel it is one of the most powerful 1-drops in this limited set. First off, it can be mutated onto, and second off, when it dies, it impacts the game. It was going to be between this and Zaggorath Mamba. The Zaggorath Mamba is a little bit more better. The Zaggorath Mamba is a little better at removing your opponent's creatures. However, the Serrated Scorpion is better at ending the game itself because there are a lot of times where it's pretty close and the doing 2 damage when it dies clause will sometimes translate to you cannot block my creature because if it dies, you lose the game. So that's why I decided to go with the Scorpion over the Mamba. All right, moving on to our next card. It's going to be Essence Scatter. Essence Scatter is on this list because, as I've found in this limited set, creatures are the dominant card type. Every deck has creatures. Creatures are the most powerful cards in this set. So you should definitely pick up an Essence Scatter or two to make sure you can stay ahead of your opponent. And it's just a good counter spell. 2 mana to counter target creature spell, and in Ikoria, for the most part, 2 mana to counter any spell is super good, as we know. Moving on to the next one, we have Stormwild Caprider. So let's delve into what this card says a little bit. It's a 3 mana 1/3 flyer, and then it reads: if non-combat damage would be dealt to Stormwild Caprider, prevent that damage, put a 1/1 counter on Stormwild Caprider for each 1 damage prevented this way. So what that essentially translates to is that if this guy's taking damage and he's not in combat, well, he's not going to actually take that damage. And in fact, he's going to get a lot bigger. I've loved playing this card in various green-white shells that are playing fight mechanic cards. My creature does damage to your creature because it's one-sided for him. He gets to do his power. Meanwhile, when the creature hits him back, he's actually growing. It's also good with Blazing Volley. It's essentially put a 1/1 counter on my Stormwild Caprider and do 1 damage to all your creatures. So I find this guy very difficult to remove for your opponent because most removal is damage based, and you can also build around him because he synergizes with fight cards. Overall, probably one of the stronger white flyers in the set. I know there's some other out there, but Stormwild Caprider, definitely one of the better cards in Ikoria. After that, we have Lead the Stampede. Lead the Stampede is a reprint, but we'll read it just for those of you who don't know. It is a 3 mana sorcery that says, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal any number of creature cards from among them and put the revealed cards into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So again, like we said with Essence Scatter, Lead the Stampede is huge because Ikoria is all about those creatures. And in a well-built limited deck, Lead the Stampede can sometimes say 3 mana draw 4, 3 mana draw 5 even if you get really lucky. But at least you'll usually find 3 creatures to hit with this card. So it's very good at keeping you ahead of your opponent and always being able to play a threat. Or if you ever fall behind, if you find 3 creatures with Lead the Stampede, you are no longer behind in this game. So I find Lead the Stampede to be probably the best green card outside of the rares. Except for one, we'll get into it a little bit later. Moving on, we have Fire Prophecy. Fire Prophecy is a new card. It is a 2 mana instant, and it reads: Fire Prophecy deals 3 damage to target creature. You may put a card from your hand on the bottom of your library. If you do, draw a card. So, if we just want to get down to what this card really says, it's do 3 damage to a creature, get rid of my useless card, and draw a fresh one off the top. Or, if we don't have any cards, we don't even have to do that part. 2 mana to do 3 to a creature at instant speed is fair. The fact that this card has an upside and is a common, I think is a little absurd because it's not out of the question that you'll get 3 to 4 of these in your limited deck. And although you might not want 4, having 3 is definitely going to keep your opponent off creatures in the early game and make sure that you can get ahead and win. Next up is the other green card that I was referring to, and that is Migratory Greathorn. So, at first glance, it's just a 4-mana 3/4, but it has the mutate ability. So, you can mutate this guy for 200 green, and when he mutates, you get to search your library for a basic land card, put that card onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. So, if you're planning on playing any 3-color deck, which you probably are since it is Ikoria after all, you're going to need to pick up 1 or 2 Migratory Greathorns. Heck, even 3 if you can find it. Because the ability to tutor out basic lands and put them onto the battlefield tap is just straight up ramp. And it's amazing that we finally get a well-statted creature that ramps us at the same time. A 3/4 body's nothing to sneeze at, and honestly, it won't stay a 3/4 for long. As many of you probably found in Ikoria Limited, some of these mutate creatures snowball out of control very quickly. And Migratory Greathorn's part of the reason for that, because with more colors comes more power, and the Greathorn allows us to make sure we're hitting all our colors. So yeah, definitely a great Ikoria card. You should be picking it. Our penultimate card that I would consider to be the second best common or uncommon in Ikoria Limited would be Mystic's Abdul. So Mystic's Abdul is a new card. It's a 2-mana enchantment with flash, and then it enchants a creature. So we can play it at instant speed, and when we enchant the creature gets -2/-0 and loses all abilities, which isn't too flashy. But then in the reminder text for this clause, it states mutating onto the creature won't give it any new abilities, but it can get abilities other ways. So it kind of breaks the rules of Magic, but also keeps them intact by removing all abilities and then further stating that if it would mutate to gain abilities, it doesn't get them at all. So this card is definitely a card you should be picking if you're in blue, because it guarantees that your opponent's snowballing mutate creature is going to be dealt with, and there's nothing they can do about it going forward. So definitely pick up a Mystic's Abdul if you see it come your way. And then, the best Ikoria common or uncommon in Limited is Heartless Act. Heartless Act is Doomblade. It does a couple other things, but plain and simple, it is Doomblade. For 1 and a black instant, it reads, choose one, destroy target creature with no counters on it, or remove up to 3 counters from target creature. So very clear where the Doomblade comparison comes in that first mode. So that second ability is nothing to sneeze at. Removing up to 3 counters from a creature at instant speed is huge. Removing a first strike counter, a death touch counter, or even a lifelink counter could mean the difference between winning and losing the game. Suddenly your opponent's not getting the life they thought they were going to gain, they're not killing the creature they thought they were going to kill, and now they're in a very, very rough position. So overall, I would have to say Heartless Act is the best card in Ikoria Limited. Alright guys, that's going to do it for our top 8 Ikoria Limited cards. I appreciate you all for watching. Please give us a like and a subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and you stay safe out there.